Finally, in this course, I will quickly run through other features, important features of this package, but each of them is quite complex and requires more videos, so probably it's worth shooting another course just on very advanced multi-tenancy with multi-database. And if I see enough demand for that, maybe I will do that in the future. But for now, I want to leave you with understanding what you can do if you want to go advanced level. So for example, what can you separate as well with databases for different tenants? For example, you can separate cache. If you use cache driver with tags like Redis, for example, you can separate the tags and, for example, clear the cache of certain tenant. Then quite complex file system tenancy bootstrapper enables separation of storage or assets for tenants. And as it is said in the official documentation down below, this bootstrapper is the most complex one by far, because it has a lot of logic how to separate by subfolders, for example. And I've quickly tried it locally, so what it does, it separates the files. For example, if I store that in the path of tasks, it separates create storage app. Instead of storage app, it has storage tenant ID app, and then each tenant has its own subfolder with storage inside. And this looks cool, and then you could separate the tenant and, for example, back up only that tenant files if you need, but it's much more complex because, for example, if I run PHP Artisan Storage Link, it links public storage to storage app public, but not to storage tenant app public, so it doesn't work that way. So if you want to fully separate the file system, probably you need to do something custom, and even the package itself, the author mentions that if you want to have an S3 bucket for each tenant, for example, you can do that, but you need to look at the bootstrappers and kind of create your own bootstrapper or other functionality. But the package offers some version of file system separation with the bootstrapper. Also, this package allows testing to be tenantable. So for example, if you run the test, you can run the test on tenant app. On the setup, you need to initialize tenancy. And then in your individual test cases, you can do tenancy true. So that is quite helpful. And also, final thing I want to mention is integration with other packages. So generally, if you dive deeper into multi-tenancy, and then you add more functionality, with each functionality, whether it's your custom code or external package, that functionality needs to be aware of the tenant, which tenant to work with, which database to work with, where to get assets from, or storage file or something else, or cache or queues. So by default, all the external packages don't really know about your multi-tenancy or something like that. So for some of the packages, Tenancy for Laravel package advises the ways how to get them to work together. So for example, for Spotty activity log, you need to change some config. For Laravel permission, for example, you need to create the permission tables, move them from migrations to migrations tenant, so they would be created in each of the tenants separately. And that probably is the logic for more packages, because then you need to move the migrations into tenant and migrate in each database separately. And there are more packages mentioned here like Passport Nova and others. For example, for Livewire, interesting thing, you need to add middleware of initialization of domain to the Livewire, to the config of Livewire. Generally, I would say if you go the complex route of multi-database, multi-tenancy, it opens up a deep rabbit hole or Pandora box or whatever you call it, and with each new functionality you need to be aware of tenants, databases, subdomains, and all of that. So as I said, it's worth another course for those advanced usages, and if I see enough demand for that in the community, maybe I'll do that in the future. But for now, for this course, I think you got the basics of what you need to know, how multi-tenancy works, how to set it up, how to configure that, and from here, it's a matter of your fantasy and skills to apply it to your projects. Good luck with that, and see you guys in other videos.